This is just on Jaunty Jams. Hello, and welcome to this latest episode of Just On. It's been a hot minute since I last recorded an episode. I think the last one was in Bali when I was staying in Ubud back in September. Since then, a lot's happened. I will share a little bit about where I've been, what I've been up to, some of the experiences I've had over the past few months, some of the learning, some of the lessons. So strap yourselves in, and I'm excited for you to hear about what I've been up to in life and this journey that continues to unfold. So the last episode was, as I said, in Bali in Ubud, where I spent around 5 weeks doing yoga at Yoga Barn. It was an amazing place. I had a phenomenal time. My visa ran out and was coming to an end, and the next phase for me was to head to Thailand. So I shot off to Phuket and explored. I checked around a few different places to sort of understand where I could train Muay Thai, because that was the original purpose of going to Thailand, was to train Muay Thai. The first week was, I'm going to say, a little bit ungrounding. I went straight into smoking weed because weed's legal in Thailand. And I think after 5 months in Indonesia and not really consuming any psychedelics or anything like such, it was a lot on the system. And although it's legal, I still believe, it's something that needs to be used with great reverence and to be used really as a tool ceremonially, rather than just, let's go for a hike, let's smoke weed, or let's hang out, let's smoke weed, let's just watch TV, let's smoke weed. So that sort of ungrounded me a little bit. And then I'd organized this event to come back in Australia to the Gold Coast for our Rising Moon event, which was at the end of October. And the day that I was flying out of Thailand, I woke up very, very ill, like really ill, achy joints, had started getting a rash over my body, really gnarly headache. I was really struggling to sleep. I was so perplexed. Like, what is this? What's going on? So anyway, I fly back to Australia to come back for the Rising Moon event. Very crook, really struggling. I had booked in a whole bunch of different catch-ups and meetings and was going to record podcasts with a bunch of people, and was going to help out at Sundays at the Creek and facilitate and share some of my new knowledge, and had this big plan of all these things I was going to do. Going to go up to Brisbane and visit friends, and I was completely wiped, absolutely demoed. And I made my way down to Byron after a couple of days of just resting at a friend's house to catch up with my sister, and eventually went to the hospital to get checked, and they did some blood tests, and the blood test came back after I'd left the Gold Coast that I had dengue fever, which, if some of you know, it's pretty potent. It's a pretty powerful infection or virus that comes from mosquitoes. So I got knocked by that, but I had the vision of holding the Rising Moon event, at the top of my awareness. And with that in mind, I really focused on resting my body and getting into nature, getting a lot of sunshine on my whole body, eating really clean food, drinking lots of water, and really just sitting with everything and allowing myself to fully feel everything that was going on in that process. And within a week's time, I got it on the Friday and I had the event the following Saturday. I had sort of managed to contain it a little bit and well enough, and running on a bit of adrenaline, managed to run the event. And it was in a different manner to the previous event. It was a lot more subtle. I wasn't really pushing the energy and trying to create a big amount of energy. It was more about tuning into the subtle energy flow that was there, and that was the guidance that had come through to me when I'd sat in nature the day before at one of my favorite walks up the Talabudra Valley. Walked up by myself and just sat and really asked, how can I make this, most supportive for everyone that's turning up, and also for me and the other facilitators, aligned with the energy. And so turned out to be a great event, and I had some awesome friends around. We watched the full moon over the horizon on Burley Hill. We danced at the Burley Bongos on the following Sunday night. And then the next morning I was out back to Thailand. I already had the accommodation sorted. I knew where I was going to go and train Muay Thai. And then when I got back to Thailand, I think the adrenaline wore off. And the first week back, I was completely demoed. It was like the dengue fever came back at me. Like it paused for a moment to let me run the event. And then it absolutely just derailed me again. So that whole week I was, just having basically like almost 10 to 12 hour sleeps every day. I was getting out into the sun and walking, and my determination to train in Muay Thai was pretty high. So by the end of that week, I had done a little jog, and I went to a Muay Thai session, got my bearings, kind of pushed through as much as I could. And then within that, after that week had kind of finished, it was into the Muay Thai training. And Muay Thai is an incredible sport. Really, really physically demanding. The training that is involved in becoming a fighter or a Muay Thai fighter is very intense. This is not what I was doing, but this is a standard trainer's schedule. They wake up in the morning, they go for a 10K run. Well, this is at the gym that I was at. They go for a 10-kilometer run at a slow pace, like a 6-minute per kilometer pace. And then they do a 2-hour training session, which involves 20 minutes of skipping, 15 minutes of warming up the body, 10 minutes of shadow boxing, and then into rounds. So 3 rounds of bag work, 3-minute rounds generally, and then 3-minute rounds of pad work with the trainer, perfecting different punches, elbows, knees, kicks. And then we'll do something special generally, whether it might be sparring, 3 rounds of sparring with someone, just light sparring, or we'll do something else, clinching, where you're basically holding each other and you're practicing to knee each other for when you're in close contact with someone. And then a sort of specialty exercise to finish off, whether that might be 60 kicks with one leg on the bag and then 60 kicks with the other bag, or 200 high knees holding the bag and kneeing it. And then we would finish with core exercises. So generally 200 sit-ups or variations of sit-ups is kind of accepted, 100 more so for beginners. So the fighters do the run, the 2-hour session, and then in the afternoon they do another full 2-hour session, and then they go for a 5-kilometer jog in the evening, and then plus a lot of them usually do a private session during the day. And a lot of the fighters train 6 days a week doing this. For me, I was doing my own running. I was doing a 2-hour session, varied. Sometimes I'll do it in the morning, or sometimes I'll do it in the afternoon. And that was just me, just the 1 2-hour session. And then I would do some yoga. I ended up staying as well at a yoga studio. They had accommodation on site, and you got free yoga. They had an ice bath. They had a sauna or a steam room as well, which was really good. So overall, the training, phenomenal. Like, you get very fit, very quick training. One thing that I noticed was a lot of people get injured. A lot of people come in, they try and do the 2 sessions a day and running. They try and follow that protocol, and they might not have the fitness level, or they might just be overstraining themselves or not have proper technique. And I watched many people get injured. And funnily enough, being at the yoga studio with the ice bath and the steam room, many people would come in for recovery, but they're injured. So they'd come for a 4-week intensive training program, but would injure themselves and wouldn't be able to train for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Some even in the first couple of days injured themselves very badly. So for me, and for having a personal training background, I was very cautious just to understand my limits, know the movements that I'm doing, and also work on counteracting movements. So, because we're doing a lot of kicking, and so you're not actually working the glutes very much. And so for me, it was to balance that out at the end of sessions, was to do glute activation work, to work on strengthening my lower back, and stretching out the front of my legs so that my hips and my legs weren't tightening up too much. Another thing that happened in Thailand was, a lot of marijuana. It's legal, completely legal, and there's hundreds of shops. I think I read an article and there's 6,000 weed shops have opened up in the past year and a half since they made it legal. And in the past, I've dabbled and, I've had enjoyable times. I believe I developed a very good relationship with marijuana where I would sit and use it, once every couple of weeks and meditate and use it in a ceremonial way and do writing and do some yoga and sit in nature and really connect and kind of, I guess, help expand the work that I've been doing day to day in a sense. And I found that was a very good relationship. However, in Thailand, it flipped upside down and, weed became almost a daily thing, especially training hard. The body's exhausted. You just want to relax. So I found that, a little bit ungrounding. When I look back on that, it just kept me in a bit of a cycle of, I don't know, kind of chasing and not actually really sitting and allowing myself to be with what was most present. The dengue fever as well lingered for a couple of weeks, and I had like joint aches and I had other like sort of a lingering headache for at least another, like about a month and a half from the start of it, which kind of mentally sent me a little bit funny for a bit, and combined with the weed. But then the training and being really like committed to training was kind of the saving grace that balanced it all out. Not something I would recommend, but in hindsight, you learn these lessons and they're just more opportunities for growth and more opportunities to understand ourselves when we can look back and go, hey, wow, like, did that really work out for me? But was that actually beneficial to my life, or was that actually taking away from the potential to live in a better way or in a better state? And so got to understand that. After the Muay Thai finished, I headed up to Chiang Mai, which is up in Northern Thailand. It's one of the more sort of spiritual, cultural cities. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Chiang Mai has big mountain range around it, or like to the side of it, that you can go and walk up, and there's some incredible big temples up there. I explored. The old city is phenomenal. There's lots of good food. There's a crazy amount of just temples, like Buddhist temples everywhere that you can go and check out, and you can just go and sit and meditate in them. And I found this lady that did this traditional massage called Tok Sen massage, where they use like a hammer and a mallet, basically. And it's like a wooden knob thing, and they kind of like knock down your body, moving over the meridians. And that was amazing. It was incredible how good that made my body feel. So met some cool people as well. Met some good friends. I met a cool chick, and we went for a bit like a 30k hike up the back of the hills, and explored some of the rural villages. So really, really cool place. And after that, I shot off to Pai, and Pai is something else. Pai's a really funky little town. It's about 3 hours over the hills, and it's situated in a valley with hills all around it, and decent sized hills, like 1,000 to 1,500 meter high, forest covered hills, beautiful greenery in all directions. And situated in the valley is this little funky town on a river. It's kind of, people say it's like the hippie town of Northern Thailand. And it has that aspect to it. It has the party side, which is like the bars and all that sort of stuff, but then it also has all these beautiful art cafes. It has, there's beautiful community markets where everyone sits in a big park and slacklining, and people are playing music and people are dancing, and there's kids running around, and there's all these activities to do. I really, really loved that place and really felt, I guess, at home. A couple of the highlights of Pai were the natural hot springs. So there's some really incredible natural hot springs that come out of the ground, and then they've terraced the river like slowly down. So there's about 15 different pools that you can sit in, with the top one being the hottest. And then as you go further down, they get cooler. I ended up going there pretty much most days. Would go early morning. It was colder in Pai as well, because it's in a big valley. It would get down to cooler temperatures, and it was winter time as well. So going there in the misty mornings into these like hot natural springs was incredible. I found a place called Dreamscape that run the most incredible ecstatic dance events. So I ended up going there just before Christmas. And then I went to a Buddhist monastery for 7 nights. That was something that I'd wanted to do. The Buddhist monastery was amazing. Yeah, like it's called Wat Pa Tham Hua, and it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours northwest or like west of Pai, and you catch this little yellow taxi. You just kind of have to wait at the spot, and this yellow sort of pickup truck turns up, and you just jump in the back, and the kind of like army trooper seats, cram all your stuff and strap your bags onto the roof, and they drive you up through the hills and drop you off at the monastery. And this monastery is phenomenal. I put a reel up on my Instagram just with a few little images of it, but that just doesn't quite do it justice. They are nestled between these big kind of rocky faces, like big rocky faces shooting up really high, and they've got this man-made sort of lake, this huge, big, beautiful temple. There's this big area, the meditation area, where everyone sits. Everyone all dresses up in white as well, which is really cool. Just, seeing everyone in white and everyone wandering around. The accommodation, they do have room. You can get your own room there, but you have to be on a waiting list generally. So otherwise you just turn up, and you don't have to book or anything. You just turn up and they'll accommodate you, and they'll give you white clothing as well to use for your stay. And then they have dorms basically, and the dorms are just like a big room with a floor, and you get a centimeter thick mattress given to you and one sheet, which was freezing. I got another blanket, and still like every night wearing like layers of clothing, sleeping bag liner, two mattresses. So one mattress and then like 2 blankets over top, and like just shivering, whilst there's, an orchestra or a symphony of snoring going on in the room. And then the floors were really creaky, so anytime anyone moved, the floor would vibrate. So that was a challenge. But what made up for it on the flip side of that was, the meditation. We would wake up in the morning, we'd do an offering of food to the monks. They would then have, so you do your own meditation first, then we do the offering of the food to the monks. You'd have breakfast. And then after breakfast, there would be a 2-hour window where we would do 25, 30 minutes. No, we'd start with a walking meditation. So we'd walk up into the monastery and up and around one of the areas. And then that was about 35, 40 minutes, walking very slow. It's like basically walking meditation, practicing, repeating the words Bud and Do. So each time you step, Bud, Do, and just focusing on that. And then we'd come back, and then we'd sit in meditation. So we'd do 25 to 30 minutes maybe, or 40 minutes sometimes of sitting meditation, and then we would practice lying meditation after that. So it would be about just over 2 hours. And that was great. And then we'd have like lunch, or like early lunch. And they would only offer 2 meals per day. The monks there don't eat after like the middle of the day. They don't eat after 12. So you'd have your breakfast, your lunch, and then you'd have a little break. And then we would have our afternoon meditation session. Same thing. This time for the walking meditation, we would walk up into the forest and there's some caves there. So we'd walk up past the caves, up into the forest, loop back around and come back down to the monastery, sitting meditation, lying meditation. And then you'd have some free time in the evening to do some work around the monastery. You have an hour just to do some sweeping, or you can do your own stuff. You can write or do anything that is appropriate for yourself to support you. So I would do some sweeping, just sweeping the leaves off the tracks or whatever it might be. You can find a deep state of meditation doing that work as well. That's a real practice. And then in the evening, we would do chanting. And the chanting was interesting. We would chant in the three different languages. So like in the original language that Buddhism came from, and then in Thai, and then in English. And the translations were a little bit sort of funny, but you just have to let go and just do it. It doesn't really matter, what it is. You just be in the process and allow yourself to be fully present and give your all to the moment, even if it seems funny or it's a little bit strange or the words don't make sense. And I would find a deep state of, like, after the chanting session, you'd find a very deep state of peace and serenity within the body. So 7 full days of that, or 7 nights there. And I felt amazing. Yeah, I felt incredible. I turned my phone off for the whole time. People can use their phones there if they want. I decided not to. You can choose to be silent the entire time if you want. You can wear a little silent badge, or you can talk. And then there's also silent tables for eating and silent and non-silent tables for eating. So you can kind of direct yourself a little bit and then choose what type of experience you want to have. If you want to be a little bit more social, you can go talk with people. If you want to be in your own world and doing your own thing, you can use the silent tables and you can have a silent badge on and do your own work. So I'm like so blessed that I had that experience, and coming out of there, I felt so clean and so clear and so connected. And I came out into New Year's Eve and I found the Dreamscape were having a ecstatic dance that night as well. So I went to that. One of the friends that I'd met from the monastery, she came along. We went to the ecstatic dance. It was a lot of fun. It was a phenomenal night, like incredible music, incredible space, like fully whole food, plant-based food, like kind of buffet spread that they had that you could pay, and it's very cheap, like $5 or something to fill your plate up with whatever food you want. And they had ceremonial cacao, and they had like organic kombucha, and they had all these delicious treats and things to fuel the night. I'd say that was probably my best New Year's in terms of just being really connected to myself, and just so in tune with the energies of what was going on. And, I came out of that and into the new year with this new energy. And I had been formulating some words for the year from the start of December upon reflecting on my year, and those words came through really strong, which were devotion, creation, and service. So devotion to me and what I'm learning is, first of all, is devotion to self, devotion to practice of, living the best we possibly can. And to expand devotion, it's devotion to creation, devotion to service, to create the creative forces that I guess have brought about everything that we see and that we get to experience. This planet, this beautiful planet, the universe, the great creator that created everything, whether you want to refer to that as God, whether you want to refer to that as spirit, whatever it might be, like we can devote ourselves to this creator or this higher energy that holds everything together. And through that devotion, we are of service, and we can be of service to ourselves by looking after our body, tending to our mind, tending to our emotions, and service to others. I guess selfless acts of service. So those words came through really strong, and it's something that I'm continuing to develop. So my visa for India had also been approved. I'd found this yoga school that I was coming to, and flights were booked for the 4th of January. So I finished off my time in Thailand. I had an incredible last couple of days of just meeting cool people and exploring and just, living, which was really beautiful. And I knew that, I was going into 2 months of, an intensive yoga training. So I just let myself be free for a few days. And within that process of letting myself be free, I've found, I guess, more freedom. It's a funny process. We can just let ourselves be free. We don't have to attach to thoughts in our mind. We don't have to attach to what people think or say about us. We don't have to attach to any of these things. We can choose to be free. So I got to India, flew into Delhi of all places. It was like afternoon, early evening, driving up to Rishikesh, which is about 5.5 hours north. And just driving through Delhi, I'm like, holy moly, what is this place? I've just been in this beautiful area of Thailand and in Delhi, and it's just like, it was dark and it's winter time as well. So it was cold, it was 5 degrees. And there's like just all these people having fires on the side of the street and big piles of rubbish. And I guess you'd call them the slums. Just straight into that and seeing, this complete different way of living in life was like an immediate shock to the senses. The smell, like the smoggy smell, and like, drove past, all sorts of different things on the way here. So first impressions, okay, here we go. And arrived to this yoga school, which is called the Association of Yoga and Meditation, AYM. And in Rishikesh, in a place called Upper Tapovan, which is a really cool little funky area, very set up for tourism. There are, I don't know how many yoga schools there are, 20, 30, 40 yoga schools maybe, and then also a whole bunch of ashrams, which have been here for a lot longer. And it's known as the yoga capital of the world. It's a very spiritual place in Indian culture or the yogic culture. This is where a lot of the yoga, or they believe yoga originated. There are many different stories around that, but this is kind of the place where they believe it stemmed from. And so, it's why a lot of people come here. So I'd signed up for a 500-hour hatha yoga training. The first month, the first 200-hour part was we were learning the Ashtanga primary sequence, and then doing hatha in the evenings. And then the second 300-hour part was more hatha, and I would say kind of more and Iyengar yoga, which is more focused on alignment, really learning how to align the body properly through all the different postures. My experience here has been, I'd say, overall really good, but riddled with a lot of different challenges. Personally, also with the organization of the school here, I found it to be quite disorganized and no kind of continuity between the different classes and what we're doing. Things would change, the class, like things that would be organized and be told that were going to be these dates would then change all of a sudden to these dates. And so learning to just navigate that was a bit of a process. But, from talking to other students at other schools, it seems to be the general sentiment of these places. I'm sure some are very punctual and very on point. So that was a challenge. But on the flip side, doing yoga twice a day, meditation and pranayama in the morning, or breathwork in the morning, doing a 1 hour philosophy class, doing a 1 hour anatomy class, doing another hour of yoga teacher training practice, And then we would do an hour of karma yoga, so practicing whatever you want to practice. Then we'd have chanting in the evenings. The big days, really big days. And within those big days, you're just trying to find your way and, it's trying to find the grounding and the breath work, the meditation, all the yoga and moving energy through the body brings up a lot. And I had lots of really beautiful moments where I was just so peaceful and so calm. And then also lots of moments where stuff was coming up, like big emotions and things from the past and seeing visions of my childhood and things that were challenges in the past and then just allowing myself to process those in the moments. And I had some very, very beautiful releases, like really beautiful moments where I just fully surrendered to the energy that was in my body. And through that process, I really just released some old stuff that had been holding me back in many ways. I won't share, details, but I really got to see and shine light on some of these things. And I believe, through regular practice of connecting with oneself, meditation, breath work, yogic practices that are moving energy through the body and opening up the channels and doing all sorts of things are going to bring things up to the surface. And when you're in that intense environment where you're doing so much of it, a lot of it comes up faster than you would imagine. And there's one big resolve that came from all of this practice. And it's just something personal that I'm working on. I'll share more details about it down the line. But I really hit this point where I just said that I'm just sick and tired of living a certain way. And in regard, again, I won't go into certain things, but and I just hit this moment where I just got to decide and make a devoted decision to commit to myself in regards to something that I would like to do over the next 3 years. And it feels incredibly good to just set a goal of 3 years down the line and to commit to a path that moves towards that 3-year decision. So the commitment to this new venture feels incredibly good. So I've come to the end of my yoga training. I'm heading to Nepal tomorrow. That's my final day in Rishikesh. And I'm really happy. I'm really stoked about life. There are still challenges and there are still things that come up. Traveling solo has its many ups and also many downs. However, those downs are the moment where you can learn, I guess, the most about yourself. And for me personally, those are the moments where I learn the most about myself. So thank you all so much for listening to this and hearing my travel update. I want to continue making these podcasts and continue sharing more and more. There's so many learnings that have come to me in the past couple of months, and I'm in the process of just formulating them and really grounding them into my life first. And then once I'm solidified and really in the truth of those learnings, I'll start to share more and provide more content that can help people on their own path to ultimate freedom, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually in alignment with everything. So thank you all so much